Matt struggled to false chord scream, but once I showed him how to actually do it, his sound changed completely. It got heavier, more aggressive, and he could finally lose himself in that raw, primal sound without feeling stuck. What's wild is that before this, he spent over a year watching tutorials with no luck. He started wondering if something was wrong with their voice. But here's the truth. Most beginners struggle with false chord screaming for the same few reasons. And in this video, I'm gonna break down the most common false chord problems beginners have, including a few that most tutorials never talk about. Then I'll show you how to actually fix them. And if you stick around to the end, I'll show you something even cooler than just fry or false chord screams. Problem number one. The first beginner problem is by far the most common. When I met Austin, he told me every tutorial said the same thing. Do a deep sigh. And yeah, when he did that, his false chord tissues were flapping. But the problem, his throat was wide open. There was a massive hole in his throat while he was doing it from being open, and that made all the air escape, which meant he ran out of air fast, his growls sounded weak, he couldn't sustain anything. And that's one of the biggest beginner misunderstandings. You see, getting false chord distortion isn't enough. You also need compression. Compression just means you're sealing things off so air doesn't leak out uncontrollably. Once Austin fixed that, on the same call, he hit his first real false chord growl ever. Before, he could count to only 3 on one breath using his false chords. Now he can count to 10, and it sounds way more sick. Huge improvement. Problem number 2. So the next beginner problem is sneaky. So I'm gonna do 4 different screams, and I want you to guess which one actually is a false chord scream. This one, this one, this one, or this one. The correct answer was C, this one. And if that was confusing, good, because that confusion is the problem. You see, beginners often don't realize how many different tissues can produce distorted sounds that aren't false chords. And here's what usually happens. Some people think they're doing false chords, but they're actually doing a low fry scream like this. Oh! Other people are accidentally using tissues called arytenoids. Both can kind of sound like they might be false chords, but they're not false chords. When you're using your real false chords, the sound is crunchy, bright, and like chips in a blender. All without the burpiness. And by the way, if you're confused about why I did a high false chord scream, that was intentional. False chord screams don't have to be low, you just have to use the right tissues. Okay, now we're getting into the most controversial beginner false chord problem. I once had a student who was tight and he was using compression. He was using the correct tissues, but he sounded like a buzzer sound or like Mongolian throat singing. What was missing? Something called twang. Twang happens when you kind of tighten up and get nasal and you get this sort of tone instead of And once the student added twang, his false chord distortion finally unlocked and he went from to Okay, so putting it together, a beginner-friendly approach. Now that you understand the most common beginner problems, let's fix them. And keep in mind, there's no one approach that works for everyone, but this 3-step process fixes the exact problems we just talked about. Step 1, stop the air leak. The way to do that is to hold your breath. And by doing this, you're closing your vocal cords so air doesn't escape. Step number 2, use the correct tissues. To do this, one way is by making a buzzer sound, kind of like you're on a game show. Wrong. And if it sounds dull or blubbery, you're leaking too much air. You want it bright and sustainable. Step 3, add twang to get distortion. So you want to take that buzzer sound and add that bright twangy noise into it and push from your stomach and let it get nasal. And when you do that correctly, the buzzer sound transform into this full crunchy distortion. And once you maintain that distortion, changing mouth shapes and vowels give you a huge range of aggressive sounds with your false chord scream. So there's a twist. Now that you made it this far, here's a twist most beginners don't expect. When I first started, I tried to label everything. Was that a fry scream? Was that a false chord scream? But I kept hearing bands that it was hard for me to classify what scream they were doing. And that's because many professional vocalists actually combine fry and false chord distortion at the same time. This is called a hybrid scream. And a hybrid scream uses false chords for the crunch and the weight, and they use your vocal cords for fry distortion. And when you put them together, it sounds like this. And in my opinion, this is the sound that most people want for a lot of different things because it's kind of the best of both worlds. And if you want to go deeper into fry screams, false chords, and hybrids, I put together a free training you can access below. It covers how to prevent vocal damage, good warm-ups, and exercises for fries, false chords, and hybrids. And it'll show you, most importantly, how to shave years off your screaming journey. It'll also show you how to book a one-on-one call with me if you want more personalized feedback. Once again, this is free. If there's one thing I learned from my false chord journey, it's this. We are far more capable than we think once we stop fighting the misunderstandings. Peace.